Hello and welcome to my channel. Here I have the Wizkids Cyclops to paint up, and on the rear of the packaging is an example of it painted. So let's open this packaging and check out the big guy. As per usual, it comes in a blister pack, so that way if it has any defects we've got a chance to check it out first. So the Cyclops comes on a part modelled base, plus it comes with a large clear disc which it can also be adhered to. And here's a close up of the Cyclops. And I love the detail with this sculpt. But it's not ready to paint just yet. First I need to clear off some mould lines. A hobby knife will clear most of them, and a tiny file will smooth it out. There are a couple of large seam lines on the arms and those need removing. So for this task I break out some green stuff and mix it up, and then I roll them into snakes and start plugging the gaps. A metal sculpting tool will help that process, including helping to flatten it down and blend it in with the rest of the skin. And here's how it's looking so far. The green stuff will need sanding down once fully cured, but I'm not done there. I want to add something else to help enhance this model. As luck would have it, I just happen to have this 2-pack of hyenas, and one of them looks as if it will fit into his open hand. And if it does, this could be a hyena throwing Cyclops. Well, what we need in these bases, they can go into the spare pile. We'll try this one, and it fit perfectly. Now I just need to cut off that sculpted base, and this is not an easy process. I had to use the combined efforts of the spool cutters, the hobby knife, a file and a lot of patience. But eventually, piece by piece, the base came away and none of the hyena's paws were accidentally amputated. And now for the final test, and it fit perfectly in his hands. Although the positioning of the hyena's leg could have been altered slightly, they need to look more like they're dangling rather than running. And to do this, I first softened it up with a heat gun, and then once it's back in place, I hold down the legs until they're set. And it's just a matter of using a little bit of super glue to permanently attach it to the hand. I did actually consider putting a rock in his hand, but hyenas are much more interesting. And now it's time to build up that base. So I'm going to attach the Cyclops plus the spare hyena, and for this I'm going to use milliput, which is cheaper than green stuff and a bit more robust. It's just a matter of mixing it up and shaping it all out. And there's no need to use glue, because once this hardens it will hold everything in place. And once again I break out the sculpting tool and blend in all the edges. I used some balled up tin foil for the texture, and then put into place some of these tiny rocks to help set the scene. And now that's looking much better than just a standard base. Since this guy came pre-primed, I only need to add some primer to the areas which have been modified. Next I added on some flesh tone, which covered most of his semi-naked body. On top of that I added a flesh wash to help create some skin tones. And on top of that I dry brushed on some pale flesh for the highlight. Next I added the white of his eye, which at this scale is quite easy. And while I'm at it, I also give him some teeth. And that's followed by a little salmon red for his tongue. And now the white of his eye is dried, I can paint on his pupil. Because the majority of this guy is going to be in shades of brown, I opted to paint his hair black. And to make that even more visible, I dry brushed on some grey. I used some German grey for his hammer, which is cut out of a rock. And I also used the same colour for the rocks on the base. I used a medium brown for the shaft of the weapon, and then a hemp colour for the bindings. There's a lot of brown required for this model, so I'm making a conscious effort to use as much variety as possible, which is why I'm using a reddish brown for his loincloth, and for his boots I use a black brown. I also use the same colour for the necklace type thing, as this contrasts quite well against his flesh. And then the item dangling from it were painted in a light grey. For the hyenas I painted on the black details first, starting off with the spots, so when I added the sandy coloured wash the detail will show through. And for that little bit of extra contrast added on some brown panel liner. And lastly, I dry brushed on some bone white to the dark areas of the Cyclops. And this just helped make some of the hidden detail more visual. And now to finish off the base, I use a tattoo brush to spread on some PVA glue, and then I sprinkle on some model grass, taking great care not to glue any to the figures. And once I've left that overnight to dry, I can spray on some sealer. And that's our hyena chucking Cyclops completed. And I really do think that adding the hyenas helps elevate this model a little bit more, as it helps tell a story and set the scene. I've made a few of these larger figures now from Wizkids, and I've been impressed with every one of them, as the larger bases give me an opportunity to create a little bit of a vignette. I'll leave a link at the end of this video so you can check out the other figures. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, if I can do it, so can you.